Hello everyone and welcome to Mission 3 of the Operation Pontus campaign for the A-18 in DCS World. For the setup to this one, I went for more of an aggressive stance than I did in the previous one. My flight will be flying cap in the middle of the Bravo and Charlie sectors. I'm taking 3 fuel tanks, 6 AMRAAMs and a pair of AIM-9Xs, and my wingman has the exact same loadout. For the other flights, I went with the suggested tasks, which flips over the roles. So now Hooter and Pickles are flying cap, Hooter in Charlie sector, Pickles in Bravo sector. They have a very similar loadout to mine. Trimmer is doing seed. He has a mix of JSOWs, harms to take out anything that's on the ground. And Fish has the strike loadout. He is going for a strike target, armed heavily with JSOWs. So we'll see what kind of damage we can get up to. I'll catch you when we start to encounter the enemy. So here we are, I've just been given a Brackle that I've been heading towards, and I get a lock on my radar. Still well out of weapons range at this point, but do have RWR warnings for 29s. Get a bit closer, but later, getting within weapon range, start to get a bit nervous because I realise there are 2 MiG-29s and one's locking me up. And so I tell my wingman to engage. What's also a bit concerning is the thing that I just shot at is not one of the 29s. So I get nervous here, turn around to re-engage the 29 pair that's coming in over here. Start to get missile launch warnings at this point, so go very, very evasive. I'm not great at doing the whole notching thing, but I figure if I just dive down, the missile's going to have one hell of a time trying to track me against the mountains to the side there. Get confirmed by number 2 there that there is another missile launch, getting merge calls coming in. I turn in towards it, can maybe just make out the dark smoke there. And that is one of the MiG-29s. He launches a missile at me, I start flaring, turn hard, do manage to avoid it. He then pulls out. Here I do make a mistake. I'm coming into the head-to-head, I've still got long-range weapons armed, and I really don't get a good lock here. And unfortunately, my wingman goes down. At the same time, I do take out the AN-26B, the transport aircraft, and that was what I was engaging at first. But unfortunately at this point I have lost my wingman. He does eject, but that's him out of the fight, and there's still 2 MiG-29s about. So, really trying to get on this guy's tail. End up kind of inadvertently transitioning to a 2-circle. I honestly don't know what has the higher turn rate out of the 29 and the Super Hornet. I'm not really an expert at modern jets by far, but I seem to be doing okay at this point. Try to get my nose up to get a decent lock on him. Just start to stall. Temporarily get a sidewinder tone there, but don't manage to uncage the Seeker head in time, so I lose it. On the bright side, our strike mission had a massive success there and just absolutely trashed the enemy. So I'm still in this turn fight. I do suddenly notice there's another plane down low. I hesitate a bit as to which one to go after and end up losing sight of the first plane, which is a mistake on my part. Luckily, my radar does pick up another contact. This was the low plane, I believe, so not the original one I was going after, but his wingman. And so managed to get a lock, and that nicely points out where this guy is. Got my AIM-9Xs selected. They are radar slaved right now, so they're doing their best to track him. I take this shot here. It gets close. I'm not sure exactly what it hits. The target seems to rather abruptly disappear. Around this time there was another kill by one of the other planes in the area, so I think they managed to get in just a little bit before I did. At this point I'm still very confused. There you go, the player's congratulating Ford, so I'm guessing Ford must have got the kill just before my missile hit, or maybe just after the missile hit. But here we can see the contrails going crazy, and then I reacquire that big black dark plume coming out of the MiG-29. Now unfortunately there he does splash one of my wingman's planes, one of the other flights. I think he got killed here, so I hesitate, saw a big explosion, but the missile must have just hit chaff or flares immediately before hitting him, so he's still in the air. But at this point, he's nicely in a straight line, nice on his 6. Very easy Fox 2 shot here. And he doesn't even see it, no flares come out. Nice, easy kill. So, a while later, after some going back and forth hunting for targets, I do get called in on a second group of MiG-29s coming in through Alpha Sector, which are near the coastline. To eventually get a lock on them. I was struggling getting a lock on this pair. You can see trying and failing a few times. Eventually bring it up. This is another MiG-29 pair, and this time I'm out of Fox 2s, still have 5 Fox 3s, but I don't have my wingman and none of the other flights are anywhere near this area. So I fire one Fox 3 at very long range, another slightly further in, then try to notch, because at this point pretty sure they are trying to get in on me. I lose the radar lock on them, and so just decide to keep going evasive, dive down into the thicker air, vaguely keeping an eye on that first contrail there, which is the one that I've launched on. Just briefly checking 6. And there we can see him turning rather heavily. Since he's turned his back on me, I go to engage again, but my missiles have hit home. I can see him coming apart there. So that's one of them down, but we still have another in the air. Still see it on the RWR, it's the one locking me. Now I try and get a bogey dope here. Fortunately the bogey dope is for the downed plane. It's still showing up on radar, so it calls me in and leads me a bit astray. I realise that and turn back towards the RWR signal. I am struggling here to make sense of what's going on. I see that contrail, but that was the old contrail of the plane I just shot down. It's just not faded. So doing my best here, really using the RWR more than anything. Do there briefly get the signal, manage to get a lock. At this point we can see that he has been engaging something. There's some missile trails. He is flaring like crazy. I'm not sure who is engaging him. I think one of the other flights is. So fire one. I wasn't too sure if that one would be lost or not, so as soon as I enter the non-escape range, I fire again. And I fired a third just because I was getting really nervous at this point. Just wanted to make sure he went down, but that first missile is actually the one that hit him. At this point I am Winchester, and so I return to the carrier and do my best to do a landing. Full honesty, this landing is the second attempt. My first attempt I completely bolted, went off the other end. Really not a good approach. This one was a lot better. So, in terms of what we ended up getting there, so I got one of the transports, AN-26Bs, from my first shot. I got one MiG-29 in the first engagement, and then I got the pair of MiG-29s in that second engagement. So that's 4 kills for me, almost all the way to an ace, so I'm quite happy with that. As for the rest of the flights, it was really Pickle's flight that cleaned up. They took out 2 MiG-23s and a second MiG-29. I think they were the ones helping me in that first flight. But this did come at some bits of a cost. So my number 2 was taken out by one of those MiG-29s. It was an R-27 that got him right off the bat. A Shilka took out 2 Georgian Su-25s, which was a bit costly. And then we had a bit of a mess towards the end, so Pickle's wingman got shot down by a MiG-29. We saw that in the close combat section. And also, weirdly, right at the end when I was about to land, Hooter, the actual main pilot of his squad, went in, just randomly crashed. I looked at the logs, I couldn't really figure out what had happened. He seemed to be refueling at one point and then just crashed. So I don't know if he hit the plane or if he had landed and fell off or what was going on there. Either way, we ended up with really low morale at the end of this, but we did take one of the sectors. So fairly heavy losses, but fairly heavy enemy losses as well. We are pushing air superiority, but we certainly need to work a bit on the ground aspect. Anyway, that was this mission. If you enjoyed, do consider leaving a like or subscribing to the channel. And otherwise, I hope to catch you in the next one. Until then, remember to be kind to yourself and everyone else. Cheers.